Hey everyone, and welcome back to Spirit Lounge. Sorry about that, just getting my PowerPoint slides in place. Hope you guys are doing well. Today we're going to continue on with the Khuddaka Nikaya, the last of the 5 sections of the Buddhist Pali, the major sections rather. There is some more in the book we will go through to follow on. And today we're going to continue with the Atthaka Vagga. Again, this is the first Vagga. There are many others in this video. We're going to start off with that one, and we'll continue through. Okay, so without further ado, let's put this onto the screen. Okay. The Atthaka Vagga. Okay, as we know, the Tipitaka contains the dhamma teachings that contain collections or sections, and these are called the nikayas. This is the last one of the Khuddaka. And we're going into the collection of sermons and discourses, and this particular Nikaya has a lot of quite meaningful content in it, and you'll see it if you've watched the previous videos on this Nikaya, you'll see that. This is really the Buddhist Canon, the teachings of Buddha that I have extracted that have meaning and my own interpretations of those, but much of it is pretty self-explanatory in some of it, but some of the definitions specific to Buddhism and the frameworks that they that are provided do require some explanation. Okay, the Atthaka Vagga, on how the goal of the holy life enlightenment is not the fruits of bragging or argument, on how there is no such thing as a holy person that is upset by criticism, on how clinging to doctrines, well, this is this calmness, this, I suppose letting things wash over you like water off a duck's back is probably more appropriate. On how clinging to doctrines, even the Buddha's doctrine, prevents a monk from reaching the shore of enlightenment. This is true. Clinging to any doctrine is not the only passage. I believe, and I'm a strong advocate of learn from all things and hold no malice to anything else, but understand and interpret them and understand them from the lens and through the eyes of grace itself. Let grace interpret the things that you choose to pass through and get meaning from. Don't let your mind or your ego or your preconceptions do that for you. On how clinging to doctrines, even the Buddha's doctrine, prevents a monk from reaching the shores of enlightenment. Just bear with me a moment. I'm just going to turn down the background music here just a little bit, just so it's not too loud. I sometimes get the feeling it sometimes can be a bit loud. Okay, where were we? On the qualities of a monk that has found inner calm, one free from desires, free from anger, and free from attachments, and free from aversion. The Parayana Vagga. On the Brahmin Bhavari's faith in the Buddha and the questioning of the Buddha by Bhavari's 16 disciples. What fogs the world? What steals its radiance? What is its peril? Answer: the 3 evils, ill will, ignorance, and greed. Who is truly at peace in the world? Peace of those who abandon sexual pleasure. Why are sacrifices made in the world? On sacrifices being made in vain hope of attaining purity, I am absolutely endorsing that. How does one escape suffering, which seems to come to all beings? Buddha's explanation of the origin of suffering was how does one escape doubt? The practice of isolation and meditation are the antidote to doubt. How to cross the worldly stream is meditating upon nothingness, which is the sphere of nothingness. On those who truly possess wisdom, the wise do not become wise by virtue of holding a belief or by acquiring some kind of knowledge, but by following the teachings. I would suggest it's the understanding of what those teachings are trying to pass on in terms of gnosis. It's important to interpret and understand and discern what's being read, what's being taught, what's being listened to, what's being heard, and what's being seen and felt. This is where gnosis lives. As I said, allow grace to interpret these things for you, through you. Vimana Fadhu. The Vimana Fadhu contains 85 stories, each a detailed explanation of how merit making leads to the formation of good karma and to heavenly being. These palaces are located in the realm of the 33 gods, ruled over by the god Saka. Okay. Petavathu. The Petavathu is the stories of the dead. Is something like a Buddhist book of the dead. It contains a detailed explanation of how demerit making can lead to the formation of bad karma and to rebirth in the grim realm of hungry ghosts. Hungry ghosts are essentially those souls that are never satisfied in the material realm. They seek more and more and more, and therefore the souls drive incarnation back into the material realm to satisfy that which has not been released. The Petavathu helps readers understand the unpleasant fate experienced by anyone reborn a hungry ghost, and that such a fate can be avoided by accumulating merit or phalam. Petavathu was composed around a century after the final passing of the Buddha. It also offers hope for hell, is impermanent, and existence as a hungry ghost. Good and evil actions lead to different outcomes. Where the outcome's the same, there would be no such thing as rebirth in heaven or rebirth in hell. Were the outcomes the same, there would be no distinctions made between good and evil men. Petavathu and the Mahavagga, where it's written. So this is true. If the outcomes were the same, there would be no distinction between doing good or not doing good. Uraga Vagga. On how a boy's weary, wealthy parents taught him no virtues. The boy squanders all his inherited wealth, winding up as a beggar when thieves offer him a job. The boy fails in the task of a lookout and is captured by kings and soldiers and executed. The last meal, the boy encounters the Buddha's chief disciple Magga Moggallana and gives his last meal away as alms. This almsgiving is the only good act performed by the boy in his entire life, and it earns the boy rebirth into the heavenly realm of the 33 gods the moment after death. On a suffering creature with perfect skin, but with a worm-eaten, rotten-smelling mouth, having first been born into hell and then as a suffering ghost, creating this depth of suffering as a result of speaking harshly to monks. On a suffering creature that was a naked, grotesque, reeking and fly-covered ghost, this creature was fated to give birth to 7 sons each morning and then cannibalizing them in the evening. She created this depth of suffering as a result of engineering the miscarriage of another woman's baby, and then upon being accused of a crime, swearing an oath, "May I eat the flesh of my own sons," if she had done the evil deed. It's already talking about karmic actions and actions, causes, intentions, and words and thoughts. Ubari Vagga. On a hungry ghost suffering on account of having lived life as a harsh-talking, angry, jealous, mean and dishonest woman. Now it doesn't, this could be a man also. The ghost was covered in dust on account of having dumped refuse on the head of another. The ghost was plagued with itch on account of having spread an itchy substance on the bed of another. The ghost was naked on account of having stolen the clothing of another. On how evil deeds do not lead to good results. On how the very person the hungry ghost wronged made a gift of food, drink and robes to 8 monks and transferred the credit for merit making to the hungry ghost, thus freeing her from torment and delivering her to heaven. This is kind of talking that passing on your karma, good karma to another, and that's not really true. Your karma stays with you. Your action, word, thoughts and intentions and the cause and effect and energy and vibration that's resulted as such are yours and yours alone. They will never be negated by another. Same as passing on bad karma to another. It just is not true. It doesn't happen, so don't believe these things. On the evil of giving too much and the evils of giving too little. on how giving to evil persons is devoid of merit, on how giving even a minuscule amount to a worthy person creates a deal of merit, on how the failure to perform good deeds leads to rebirth as a hungry ghost, and diligence in performing good deeds leads to rebirth in the heavenly realm. So I want to go back to this other thing as well about passing someone, giving their food to eight monks transferred the credit. No, it doesn't. It increases your own merit, but it may stimulate the person who's receiving that good merit, even though they are of demerit, to rethink their course of action, rekey the course of their lives, and therefore embark upon the action, word, thoughts and intentions of merit. Okay, the Kula Vagga. On the deer hunter who died and became a hungry ghost, a gift was given in the name of the deer hunter, and he was instantly relieved of his suffering. Again, I don't espouse to this. On how gifts should always be given out sympathy for these hungry ghosts. It does not take away the karma. It would remediate the suffering in the life by giving these alms, but it doesn't take away their demerit. The Mahavagga. On how Sarisaka garnered merit by laying a beautiful flower garland at the Buddha's stupa, and was rewarded with a palace in the heavenly realm of the 33 gods. Now, I don't espouse to any of these palaces in the realm of 33 gods. There is only the Divine Father and there are no palaces. It is the state of grace and absolute divine absolution into the vibration of the Father, of infinite Lord, undescribable, unfathomable state of bliss. These heavenly realms of gods and palaces, this is delusion. It doesn't exist. It only exists if that is which you seek, and you create it through your own thought and your attachment to that vision. This is what you will experience. But when that vision is over, when you've understood where you are, the divine realm reveals itself, and it's a realm of nothingness and absolute grace. This is the reality. This is why people always see different things in death, describe different things after death, depends on their leanings and perceptions and the programming on this earth and in their minds and in their spiritual minds, in the spiritual hearts and spiritual souls. You will see what you think you are going to see. You will feel what you think you are going to feel. You will experience what you think you're going to experience. But there is one reality. They cannot all be multiple realities. Remember, there are realities of death, beyond life after death, and of the Divine Father in every life form in this cosmos. They will also have a different interpretation of what comes after death. So is theirs also the only reality? Is mine? Is palaces, gods, fields, an earth-like place the only reality? No, it's the one that you hold attachment to, which you will experience after death. This will be the reality and truth here. The true reality is one, and there is only one, and it's the same for everyone. No matter which form, which planet, which solar system, which galaxy, which eternal space, within formless or formlessness one exists. There is only one reality, and we will all see it in the end. On the confused hungry ghost who did not know what he ate food, but got no nourishment, why he often writhed in pain, why he wept on account of the pains he felt. The confused hungry ghost asked these questions to Maha Moggallana, who explained that the hungry ghost suffered so because in a past life someone had begged sugarcane from him and he had ignored the hungry beggar. The hungry ghost gave a portion of sugarcane to Maha Moggallana for presentation to the Buddha, and by this act of merit making, the hungry ghost immediately stopped suffering and was later reborn in the heavenly realm of the 33 gods. Maybe so, but if that's the only karma he had, the only cause and effect to resolve, the only bit of gnosis to have, but I would beggar not. On the prince that injured a Pasika Buddha and suffered thousands of years in hell for this deed, and then was reborn a hungry ghost. On how the ruling class must not be capricious and cruel, but steady and kind. On how a group of greedy, credulous people were all reborn hungry ghosts cursed to seek but never find nourishment. Mahamoggallana asked the group of hungry ghosts why they were in such pathetic situation, and they confessed their evil deeds, which were committed by thought, by word, by action, by failing to build up a store of good deeds and good karma. This is exactly what I've been saying. Action, word, thoughts and intentions are what must change. Okay, the Theragatha. Included in this great list of enlightened beings are the foremost of the Buddha's disciples, all of whom appear frequently or famously or both in the Tipitaka. They include Ananda, Agulilama, Limala, Anuruddha, Puna, Sariputta, Mahamoggallana, Mahakassapa, Udayi and Upali. These are all revered disciples. There's various passages I took from this as well. There were many, but here are a few. 1159. All life's experiences are ephemeral, that's true, energetic, unreal, illusion, delusion. The reality is beyond matter. All experiences are fated to rise up and fade away. Experience lives within our memory, fated to be forgotten. It is for our good that they fade away. 1161. Those who know all life's experiences are a thing without self and without soul. These are the ones who have pierced the difficult truth just as the arrow splits the difficult hair. In other words, seeing the reality, moving into grace from soul, heart, mind and the vessel of the body. 871. When the reckless become careful and steadfast, and stay careful and mindful, the world brightens, like when the moon is freed from cloud. When evildoers forsake evil and atone with many deeds, even the young who apply themselves to teachings of Buddha. 875. May my enemies hear the teachings of the Buddha. May my enemies follow the teachings of the Buddha. May my enemies associate with monks, those peaceful ones that follow the teachings of the Buddha. 883. Fools are fools for wildness and recklessness. This quiet, steadfast nature in life's best treasure, the wise protect it. 891. I have served the Buddha completely. The Buddha's instructions have been followed. The great burden has been set aside. All karma that leads to rebirth has been severed. I found these all very, very, very nice passages. Okay, the Therigatha. When we consider that these stories have their origin, however obscured, in the lives of people who walked the earth over 2,500 years ago. From my heart, the arrow has been plucked. The arrow is gone. The terrible grief for my dead daughter is gone. The terrible grief that poisoned my life is gone. My heart is whole again. My desires are gone. I am spotless and serene. I take refuge in the Buddha, the Buddha's teaching, and the Buddha's community. I am free. How I am free? Free from kitchen labour. I was impure and unclean together with my pots. My cruel husband was much less than. The grass he sat and wove. Free from the past ill will and greed, I abide free beneath the shade of the tree overhead. All is well. Nice passage. Okay, the Atthaka Nipato. On persevering and enduring the difficulties of the holy life. Spiritual passage is not easy. It will always be required to persevere and endure things that come to you, because you are letting go of what is comfortable, and seeing oneself is uncomfortable, and healing oneself is uncomfortable. The Buddha's past life, thoroughbred, is like a thoroughbred horse. As a thoroughbred horse, on persevering in the practice of meditation. The Buddha's past life is a tree spirit, as a tree spirit, on the difference between foolish and wise advice. On the Buddha's past life as a wise man, he learned on the dangers of intoxication. On the Buddha's past life as Benares as a treasurer, on knowledge, righteousness, non-attachment to existence and fearlessness. On how Prince of Five Weapons tamed the flesh-eating giant hairy hands. I'm not even sure what that means. The Buddha's past life as a prince of 5 weapons. On the royal chief Brahmin who discovered he was esteemed for his goodness, rather than lineage, and so, to perfect his goodness, join the Buddha's community, winning enlightenment after a time. On the good snake, the Buddha's past life as a royal chief Brahmin. It's sort of this condensed version is really talking about the lessons that Buddha learned in different past lives as different people and different experiences. On the foolishness of fortune telling and omens, the Buddha's past life as an ascetic, on karma and gratitude, on how a bad merchant is shown courtesy and kindness by a Benares merchant, but fails to return in kind, which leads the Benares merchant's followers to take revenge upon the bad merchant. On the evil hypocrisy, on a bad, rat-eating jackal that pretends to be good, but whose hypocrisy is discovered and punished. And the Buddha's past life as a rat king. On the evil monk Devadatta, who tried to kill Buddha 3 times, who had missed the pleasure of the householder's life and missed the joy of the holy life. On the dishonest fisherman, an incarnation of Devadatta, whose greed leads him to losing both his eyes and his clothes. Dukkha Nikaya, on the value of wise counsel, on 2 kings equal in all things but one. One gives food for good and evil for evil, while the other gives only good. On how people seek the company of like-minded. On how 2 cruel men are only friendly with each other. On how 2 cruel horses are only friends with each other. On expressing loving kindness to all living things. On protection by the gods. Immunity to fire. Immunity to poison. Freedom from instruments of violence. Easy attainment of meditation. Inner peace, untroubled death. Rebirth in the highest heaven. On the life of the Buddha, his great rejection of the worldly life and determination to live the holy life. On how, on the death of a king, a young prince, who is a great archer, rejects the crown in favour of living the holy life and saves the kingdom by virtue of his fame as an archer. On how a father disregarded his daughter's noble suitor, handsome suitor and mature suitor and gave her away to the virtuous suitor. On the jealousy of another religious leaders in seeing how the Buddha and his followers were greatly honoured and not given great alms. So these religious leaders decided that Buddha's good fortune was the result of his having a choice location for his monastery. So these other religious leaders bribed the king to let them build their own monastery close by, leading to disputes between the Buddha's people and the new monastery people. On how the ancient king's Baru caused by the king displeased the gods, so the king was punished by the gods and all his kingdom was lost. Digha Nikaya, on how an impure monk became miserable over feelings of lust for a beautiful woman. On how even the purest of monks, well established in the meditative ecstasies, can become miserable over feelings of lust for a beautiful woman. On the wealthy Brahmin who became a holy hermit and master of meditation, who cooled only by the force of will and deep meditation. On the great wisdom of the Buddha. On the wisdom of a prince who was tested for his wisdom and made a king. On how wisdom is the mark of any undertaking success. This is gnosis. Wisdom comes from gnosis, from mind, intellect, experience, and gnosis. On how a village boy and a troop of monkeys killed all the garden trees when they decided trees with deep roots required more water than trees without deep roots, and so pulled up all the trees to determine the size of their roots. On how greed leads to ruin. On hypocrisy. On how the hermit who pretended to be a holy man, when the hermit was given alms of food containing goose meat, he decided to get more. Hermit reveals his true nature when he attempted to kill a goose. On how those with bad character are unable to discern the difference between good character and bad character. on the evil monkey who regularly climbed up the back of a good elephant and defecated. But the patient elephant ignored the monkey. Eventually the patient elephant left and a bad elephant was kept where the good had been. The monkey fails to notice the difference between the two, and the monkey defecates upon the bad elephant. The bad elephant grabs the monkey and dashes its brains out. Bashes its brains out, rather. On the condemnation of a worldly profit. On the qualities of a person who is able to attain worldly profit. Immodesty, renunciation of the holy life, to take the appearance of a fool, willingness to verbally slander others. Behave like a trickster, and willingness to speak harshly. On virtue, on the royal chief Brahmin who discovered he was esteemed for his goodness, rather than lineage, and so to perfect his goodness rather than lineage, and so to perfect his goodness left to live the holy life in mountains, winning enlightenment after a time. Okay, so that's the end of that section. Again, remember the second coming is yourself. You are the passage of your own spiritual expansion. Make it transformative, not virtuous. Make it real. Understand that the reality is of grace and the Father. Everything else is illusion. Even after death, we can present ourselves with an illusion. Seek what is true, because let that present it to you whilst you're informed, because that is where you will be when you are not informed. So I want to say thank you again for listening to this. I truly appreciate it. The last video in this Samyutta Nikaya is coming up, and I hope you will follow along. And please pass on your comments and feedback to me. It is important what everyone is receiving, and anything else that you'd like me to look into. I truly appreciate it, and thank you. And God bless you all till next time.